a much deeper way. Just to take a few reflections on the student leadership angle and the fact that these two represent some of the best of our generation in the university. Because if you look at the university student leadership, the Haruna group were a bit ahead of us, but the Omani Boama and Mutala, John Kuma group were sort of the early 2000s group, and they have made their way to the highest levels of government. So let me speak to Albert Enyonam Quashigah, Esquire, very briefly, because I know this is hitting him hard, but it also gives some context. And it's also a way of remembering the work of these people. So Albert, I really thank you for agreeing to speak to us, even though it must be very, very difficult for you. Good evening, and thanks for talking to us.
Yes, good evening, and good evening to your viewers, and good evening to Sky.
Yeah.
Evening.
So I was trying to describe to Sky, who was not in Legon, what Omani Boama and Mutala represent to the student leadership. My thinking is that they sort of, in government now, represent the best of our generation in a way. If you take the Haruna group out, because Haruna and Co and Admin were ahead of us. But in our group, you can say that Omani Boama and Mutala were among the leading lights, correct?
Correct. So, Bernard, I received the news today, and I have to say that I'm broken, and I don't even know how I'm mastering the strength to speak to you through this medium. Although I'm very sad and I'm very troubled, I feel like I have an opportunity to pay my last tribute to a great friend for close to 2 decades. You know, Mutala and I believe we entered the university in 99, 2000 academic year, and we became friends sometime in 2000 and 2002, thereabout. Now, what happened? Mutala and I took psychology together, and it happened that we are quite active in class. We are people who contribute to class discussions. At the time, I didn't know Mutala, but I think I observed Mutala from afar. He pushed his points very strongly, even at that age, and I thought I did the same as well. And so it was just one day after class when Mutala approached me. I think it was before class started on that day. It's been many years down the line. He came to me and mentioned my name and said, Quashigah. I was actually very surprised he could mention my name the way he did. And then he said that he thinks that we should come together and contest for the post of SRC and vice president, SRC president and vice president for the University of Ghana for that particular year. I hadn't thought about this, but when Mutala brought up the idea, I thought it was a good idea. If we had the opportunity to serve, the university community and the students, why not? So that's where actually it started. And so we actually prepared ourselves and prosecuted a campaign under the slogan, The Feasibles. I'm sure many people remember that. And I've received many calls from people reminding me of the feasibles and all that. We chose that slogan because we just wanted to tell the students that whatever we say we will do is possible, and that they should give us the mandate. We prosecuted a campaign, and I believe most people thought that we were going to win the election. But I think at some point things got into our head, so we slowed down a bit, and others came from behind and overtook us. In fact, that cohort included people like John Kuma, may he so rest in peace. John Kuma also contested for SRC president during my time, so he was my opponent, my political opponent at the time. And the current GIPC boss, Simon Maji, who we call Big G, also contested for president in that election. And so what you are saying and what you say is correct. At the time, Omani Boama, and you have explained the circumstances under which Omani Boama became the NUC's president and all that. So we're contemporaries around that time. So I know Omani Boama very well. I know Mutala very well. And so if you say that these people represent, the period after the leadership of Haruna and me Nina Warner and co. I think you are right. It was a new crop of student leaders who came up. And I mean, anytime I see the progress of Dr. Malik Muhammad, I see the progress of Mutala Mohammed. I haven't pushed politics too far, but I feel like Mutala's progress is a reflection of the quality we possessed at the time. And so it makes sense, and it makes sense even more for people to say that, oh, these people could have been good leaders of the university students and all that. So and we've been friends since, to be very honest with you. Just yesterday, I left the ministry. I'd gone to see the chief director on an issue because there's something we are working on. And I believe that Mutala has kept that relationship. We talk. I've known his struggles from the time he wanted to be MP for Nantong, and when he won and when he lost that seat at some point, and then went to Tamale Central. I know he spoke to me. I never really had the time to follow him around the place, but we had regular updates, and I knew his struggles. I even knew people who were working against him and all that. So, I mean, it breaks my heart that at this point and at this young age, I have to lose such a great ally and a friend. What could I say?
I thank you for speaking. I have a few questions more for you. I'm not even sure how the youth in the political leadership would take this, because as I said, they also represent the blossoming of a generation, right? So it's not just the fact that they were student leaders, but they kept at the politics, and
Exactly.
so when they were nominated, you can say that it made all of us proud. So you can see that in this Mahama government, there are about 3 generations, or I think 4 generations of student leaders. Because if you take the group Haruna's group, who were in the mid-90s, the Omani Boama and Mutala group, which is early 2000s. You can even take Okujetua Blakwa as the group that followed. And then even the current Ashanti Regional Minister is almost like a 4th generation. So that in itself is a challenge, that this is the group that was sort of blossoming to take over from the first group. I mean, this is post-mid-90s I'm talking about. But I need to remind you that you won the election in Workers' College. So usually when the SRC elections are collated for the halls, I always say that the serious candidates win Workers' College, because Workers' College is where mature people vote. And when we counted that vote, the feasibles, which is Albert Quashigah and Mutala, got the highest number of votes in the Workers' College. But of course, that is
let me just say something interesting about
down the bridge. But for those who don't know him, can you also talk a bit about his principle? Because a lot of people don't know, but Mutala is quite a principled guy. He can argue. Yeah. He can argue for eternity on what he believes in. Correct?
You're right. I mean, Mutala is a guy of conviction. I mean, if Mutala is convinced about a point, he'll defend it. And I think he's somebody who also believes in this African consciousness. I mean, Mutala loves reggae. Mutala speaks patois. Let me tell you something interesting. Look, when we're doing our campaign for the SRC presidency, there was an incident in Commonwealth Hall where actually I was. You know, we had a face-to-face. And then at that point, because we have been going around the school and campaigning and all that, I had lost my voice as the main candidate. And when questions were being put to us, I could barely hear myself. And so Mutala took over. And something interesting happened. In addressing one of the questions that was put to Mutala, Mutala spoke in patois. And I think that ignited excitement at the observatory of Commonwealth Hall. And I felt excited that even though I was down, I had somebody who had equal potential and equal strength to keep the excitement, of our campaign going. So yes, I mean, Workers' College, we won because we had received, a lot of prompting on Legon campus that, look, this election, you and Mutala are the top candidates. I think that may have gotten into our head. So we focused on Workers' College. And that's where we did a lot of campaign. And at this point, I like to mention Warwi Brown and Co. These are people who worked very hard. So we won Workers' College massively because we focused our attention there, and we believe that at the Legon campus, we can do work, but I mean, we are already leading. But it turns out that, I mean, Ekpo and Co, worked, much harder later,
Yeah.
and then became another. But I have to say that Mutala is a very principled guy. I mean, as I've said, Mutala believes in his principles, and he would continue to argue that principle unless there's reason for him to change that. I also know that he's a family man. I mean, he always had good thoughts for his wife, and some he had discussed with me in the past, and what he wanted his wife to do and all that. So, Kwaku, it's really hard. My wife knows Mutala. It's like, my siblings know Mutala, because when we're running the campaign, one of my big brothers actually sponsored the campaign. He gave us funds to do a campaign and all that. So they know how close I am with Mutala. We may not have seen each other all the time, but we WhatsApp, we talk, and I'm happy. I feel proud of Mutala. So it's a big blow, and it's a really big blow. It's a big one.
Condolences to you, and thank you for even mastering the courage to speak on this matter. Albert Enyonam Quashigah is a lawyer, private legal practitioner, a close friend of Ibrahim Mutala, a contemporary of his and Omani Boames at the university.